All righty, we're at the top of the hour, so we are going to start the webinar today. Thank you for joining. The session today is going to be how to write like a pro. This is a Finance for Teachers Network webinar, so it's a public webinar today, so for members and for everyone else who wants to join. My name is Dave Grant. I am the founder of the Finance for Teachers Network. Content today is probably going to run about 35 to 40 minutes. Then we're going to have time for a Q&A at the end if people have questions, and then we'll wrap you up so you're ready to go on your next task by the top of the next hour. So a couple of housekeeping things before we move on, and then we'll dive into the content today. Some housekeeping things. Everyone is currently on mute. If you do have a question that you want to ask, go ahead and throw it in the question box. We will do questions at the end so we can keep the flow going. But just so you know, I am the only one who is talking right now. As I mentioned just before people joined, if you can hear and see everything okay, put a 1 in the chat box. If you're having problems seeing things, or if you're having problems hearing the audio, because we have started and you'll see the screen moving, put a 2 in there. If we get a lot of 2s, we'll have to figure out some technical things. But for right now, it's all 1, so everything is good. This is the first Finance for Teachers Network webinar we're doing. Every other webinar going forward is going to be on the 3rd Thursday of the month at noon Central Time. So keep that in mind for as you're scheduling out your days, you'll be getting content through email as to what we're doing and what topics we're covering and who's going to be leading that session. Next month is a roundtable of advisors who have been in this space for a long time. So I'm going to be moderating the session. We're going to have 2 or 3 other advisors who have gone through this space. They're going to be giving you some keys that they've learned over their years. And if you're new to the space, or if you're really looking to get into the teacher and advisor world, then that's going to be very valuable for you. Now, this month, just like I mentioned, is a public webinar. So everybody could join, members or non-members. Some months, there's going to be coaches that are from the network coming along, and those are going to be private webinars. So it's members only. And that's just because a lot of the content is very valuable, and we want to make sure that all our members get the content they are paying for as part of their membership. So with that being said, let's move on. So who am I? How am I able to give this webinar? What kind of gives me the credentials to do it? So my name is Dave Grant. If you're not familiar with who I am, I created, founded, and run the Finance for Teachers Network. That is a group of advisors who work with K through 12 and college educator clients, and we're a community of those advisors looking to get better at what we do, but also a community of us as well, just to make sure that we're keeping ourselves sharp. Now, when it comes to writing, how am I able to speak on that? For the last 4 years, I have been doing a column at Financial Planning Magazine. That is based around younger advisors and what they're going through, what type of issues they're coming up against, and really everything that they're facing in the industry. That has then led me to write a book about what it's like to run an RIA for the first year. And that's also given me opportunities to write for Blueleaf, which is an account aggregation software, the CRM of Wealthbox. We just finished doing a library for their readers, so that's probably going to be released next month. And then Magnify Money, which is a consumer site for people interested in really getting a handle on their finances. So I write for those every month or every other month. Now, as you'd imagine with Financial Planning Magazine, that is dealing with people in New York. They are typically on an editorial timeline. They have their content spread out for the year. Their timelines and their deadlines are the next hour. So a lot of that is your content has to be on point right now or yesterday. So that's kind of my background there. So how is this session going to be run? When you're looking to write like a pro, we're going to cover it into a traditional format. The who, what, when, why, and how. So we're going to look at who are you writing to, what should you be writing, when do you need to be writing this, more importantly, why are you writing this? But then getting down into the technicals of, well, how do you actually write? So who are you going to be writing to? That may seem like an easy question, but there are different styles depending on the different person that you're going to write to. So for example, a lot of advisors are writing to their current clients. When you're writing to current clients, you're not having to sell them. They already know who you are. They know that you are good at what you do. They trust you, and they believe that you're an expert already. So a lot of the writing you're doing there is to build a relationship with these people. Making sure that they're still engaged with who you are and what you do. You're giving them education on some finer points of their planning, and you're really just providing a service and more engagement at that point. That's the easy stuff. The harder stuff is when you actually get down to writing for prospective clients. When you're writing to these people, the game changes. They don't know who you are. They don't know how and why you're an expert. They don't know your style. So you're having to start at ground zero with these people to actually start to engage them and build a relationship. There are, however, different stages of these prospective clients and how your writing should be differing towards them. Now, when you're looking at prospective clients, you're going to have 4 different stages that a prospective client goes through. And your writing needs to be different for all of them. So the acronym for these prospective clients can be fallen into the word iPad. And we'll go through what these different stages are, but more importantly, what you should be focusing on and what your writing should look like. So your stages are your prospective client. Your first stage is you've got prospective clients who are ignorant. They're not actually prospective clients at that point. These are people who don't even know they have a financial problem. They stumble across you or your writing, they read it for pleasure, they move on, and it doesn't have an impact at all. And they go on their merry way. Your next kind of people are those that are pondering. They know that they have an issue. They're not aware that they need to fix it yet. It's just out there. It could be, I probably need to save more for retirement, but I don't really want to deal with that yet. As you're going further on, your pondering people turn into active people. They know they have a problem. They know they need to save more, and now they need to figure out how to do it. And so those are the type of people who are Googling on the internet how to save for retirement. They're going to be reading different pieces from different sources, trying to figure out the common themes that they should be following, and they're either going to follow through, or they're not, and they're just going to stay in the active stage and just keep researching. Your final person is your determined person. Those are the people who, they have a problem, they know it needs to be fixed, but they want it fixed now. They need to find someone or a solution to their problem, and they're willing to pay for it. They know that it's going to cost them some money, it's going to cost them some time, and they want to find the best person that's going to help them. So they are either asking friends, other professionals, going on the internet, and they are searching for this information. When they find that fit, they're going to pull out their checkbook and they are going to write a check and embrace and engage that person. These are the type of people you need to be writing to. These are the types of people that are going to read your work on your website or your platform, wherever you're writing. And if you're writing to prospective clients, those will be the type of people that will pick up the phone and say, I read this that you wrote. This is what I need. When can we start working together? So with that in mind, what are you going to be writing? You can focus on educational pieces. Now, these pieces are very clean cut. It's going to be, you pick a topic, you write what the problem is, you write how to solve it, and that's it. It's very clean. The only problem with clean and unemotional pieces is they don't typically convert very well. So what do I mean by that? You could be writing on what happens when you get divorced. Here's all the problems. Here's all the solutions. That person will read it and leave. They won't necessarily engage the writer of that to say, oh, you wrote about my problems. Now I want to work with you to solve all these problems that I have because I know that you're an expert in this. Educational pieces do have their place though. A lot of current clients like educational pieces because it starts to re-engage what you're doing for them. So educational pieces are going to be, okay, so we worked through your plan, we tackled this with your 401k, but here's some extra things that we're looking at, that we're thinking about. So know that we're always in this space, I'm always learning about it, and I'm always here for you. You can take your pieces a little bit further, and they can be relationship building. This is helpful for current clients too. You can start to add a little bit of flavor of your life into your pieces. So for example, if you say you've been through a divorce, write about it if you're comfortable. Say, you know, here's what I went through with a divorce. Here's the 3 things that were the main factors. And it's not just me, it's everyone else who's gone through a divorce. And here's X, Y, and Z. Here are the problems, and here's how I solved it. Here's how I take clients through it. You'd be surprised at how many people, once you start talking about yourself, their engagement shoots through the roof because they like reading about other people. You know, there's a reason that People magazine is so popular. It's about other people. You know, it's other people's stories and other people's lives that we want to learn about. You know, educational pieces are great, but when it becomes personal, engagement goes through the roof. You can also write sales letters. It's something that I don't see many advisors do, and I'm not surprised, because this is a very much a learned skill of writing letters or content that's longer that is converting. Now, you'll typically see it in software sales. You know, if you go to a landing page and it's one of those that scrolls on forever, but if you start to read it, it's got testimonials. It's got real life stories of, okay, we did this, this, and this with this software, and these are the solutions we had, and here's the money we saved. What if advisors turn that into a big landing page? You know, here's what I do. Here's the situation you're in. Here's some case studies that I've worked on with different clients. Granted, you can't call them testimonials. But here's different things I've worked on. Here's the money I've helped people save. Here's how I do it. Do you want to work with me? Great, let's talk about this. But if you don't, keep reading. You know, having a huge, long piece of copy that is only there for converting people into clients is typically not found in our space, but it should be, because writing can convert. So when do you need to write? We'll split this into an acronym too. Think about a ROBE. So when you're going to write, you need to do it regularly. Writing is like exercise. If you go for a mile run and you do it one time, it sucks. It hurts. You don't feel much benefit from it. You're probably going to end up throwing up. And if you don't do it again for another month, you're going to go through the same thing again and again. It's the same with writing. If you sat down and wrote for an hour a month, it's going to hurt. It's going to be painful because you're exercising creative muscles and, you know, frameworks that you're trying to put in place that haven't been exercised. You're not going to enjoy writing if you're just doing it very infrequently. Your writing has to be original. Now that sometimes is, you know, goes without saying, but there's a lot of content in our space that is the same. You know, if you Google, should I be using a Roth IRA versus a 401k? I challenge you to find an advisor who's not written on that. But if you're going to write content about, you know, what happens to a dentist practice when his wife divorces him, that's going to be quite an original piece out there. You're not going to have many people who have written into that much detail in a client's life. So strive to make your content quite original. You have to get creative with writing. This comes more easily with practice, but you want to figure out ways of, okay, so this is going to be content that someone's going to read, maybe for the first time, Or they may have read this information in 5 other places before they came to me. How can I make mine different? So I'll give you an example. I have been working with another writer this summer, and we came up with a story that we broke into 10 parts, and we wrote it once every couple of weeks. It's a 10-part blog series about the life of a teacher and her family, and all the financial issues they go through, from budgeting, saving for retirement, investing, teaching their kids about money, having a parent pass away, all these financial things that people go through, but instead of it being educational, it's a story. And as well as being a 10-part blog series, that can be turned to a book. That could be turned to a podcast. All of those types of things, once you just let the juices flow and you just start writing for fun, those kind of things come more and more naturally. So this is going to challenge people. When do you need to write? Some people need to do it every day. Now, some people will want to do it every day, but some people, just out of the fact of, I need to get better at writing, I should be doing this every day. Now, it doesn't need to be a long time. Just do it for 15 to 20 minutes a day. Write some content, and if it's good, great, keep it. Work on that later. If it's really bad, throw it away. But it's just like your exercise. If you did that 20-minute run in the morning and it really hurt, that's okay. File it away in a day that you don't want to remember, but tomorrow could be really good. It's the same with writing. If 20 minutes a day hurts, why not do it every week? Every Friday morning for an hour. Just write. Let it flow. Or if your juices are flowing and you're coming up with content, start to build out that framework of, okay, here's a blog I want to write. Here's the 3 things I want to cover. You'll be surprised at how quickly that comes out in an hour. Now, as you're going through this, you do want to think about, why am I writing? What is the whole purpose behind me doing this? And what am I expecting out of it? You'd be surprised at how many people write because they're supposed to. There's been a lot of media coverage in the last 5 to 7 years about how blogs, every advisor should be writing a blog. Every advisor needs to be writing because that's the way they get their voice out there. The majority of those advisors don't like writing, and they're writing because they're supposed to. That writing is very boring to read because there's no passion behind it. If you don't like writing, don't do it. Find another medium to get your content out there that you enjoy, that you're passionate about, and go that route. Because your writing, if you're not enjoying it, won't be fun to read, and it won't benefit anybody. Some people write to generate business. And that's okay, as long as that's a motivation that stays pure and stays clean and keeps you going, that's an okay motivation to write. If you're thinking about different blog posts or different white papers or books to read, then that's an okay motivation. If you're thinking, okay, I'm going to go on this 12-month journey and I'm going to do these different things and write this different content, and I'm going to track how this works. I'm going to figure out what type of content converts, what type of layout converts. Now, if you turn it into a business exercise, that's a great motivation to keep going. The one place that you really want to get to is you write because you have to. It's awesome when people can say, I can't write enough, and I have things in my head that go unwritten because I don't have time. And that's what happens when you start getting in that pattern of writing. You'll have 5 topics you want to write about, but you only have time to do 2. So you can put those things to the side for later, but the next time you come to write, you got 4 more. And it's people saying, I have all this stuff I want to write. I have that passion for it. And that is the person that's going to write, and people are going to want to read because there's that passion behind it that they're going to feel. You can generate that passion if you enjoy writing, but you need to learn the skills. Going through the practice is going to help you generate that passion, and your writing is going to start to express that. But again, if you don't have a passion to write, and you're doing it because you have to, don't do it. So let's get down to the technicalities. How do you write? I'll leave you with some resources to go away with after our webinar. I've been following these guys for a while. Donald Miller is a writer. He's written a lot of novels. His recent one is called Scary Close. It is a memoir about how he sucked at relationships and how he got better. Very personal, very much laying his heart out there, but you feel the passion in his writing. You want to read more because you start to like him. You start to understand how he's writing, and you really want to learn more. So if you're in the line of relational writing, Donald's someone you really want to understand and read more. He also tells you how to put together a framework for writing. And some of that stuff we're going to cover on a top level today, but if you want to learn more, go to his. Ray Edwards. Ray Edwards is a copywriter, and he copywrites for sales letters and sales content. That's his main thing. He does other stuff too. But if you're interested in how advisors can write more content that converts readers into clients, definitely look at Ray's work. So how do you go about this? The simple thing that you can relate to in the media world is that people resonate with content that follows the formula of a movie. Now that shouldn't surprise you because a lot of movies are based on stories in a book. But how does that work? So you have a character that has a problem. They meet a guide who gives them a plan and calls them to act in some way. If that person acts in that way, they have a life-defining moment and their life gets a lot better. If they don't choose to follow that action, then life gets worse or it stays in the same place. That is one of 7 formulas of a movie that 75% of movies are based on, and that's why they work. The other 25% of movies aren't based on any formula, and they suck. So how do you put this into your writing? Because if you follow a framework like this, your writing will get a lot better. So in your writing, the character of your story is your client. So the one you have or the one you're trying to get. The character in your story is not you. Now the reason being is if someone comes to your website, even before they read anything, they are the hero of their story. They are the #1 person in the leading role that matters in their life. You're not it. So they want to come along and they want to find out, how can I make my movie, which is their life, how can I make it better? I don't need anyone to replace me. I just need some help here. So they're going to come to your website and they're going to read content. They need to read it as though you're coming alongside them as their guide. If you come alongside them and actually say, I'm the expert who's going to fix all your problems, I know more than you do, and you need me to take over your life and fix it. You will not convert people by writing like that, because you're competing with your reader to be the hero in their story. You want to keep your client the hero. You want to be the guide that's going to help them make their life better. Now, if your client comes and they read this, they read it that's written in that way, they are faced with a dilemma. They are faced with, okay, I can go with that recommendation and I can work with this guide and my life will become better, either financially or the stress is going to go away. If I ignore it, my life is not going to be that good. It's going to stay in the same place, or it's going to get worse. You want to bring them to that decision by saying, work with me and things will get better. Don't, and things will stay the same as the way they are, or worse. Now, I've told that to some people, and they're like, yeah, that's not true. Look at movies and the popular ones. Star Wars. Luke Skywalker comes along in the movie. His guide, you can either choose Yoda or Obi-Wan Kenobi. They don't try and fix his problem. The dark side is the problem. They give him the tools to go and defeat the dark side. The Karate Kid. Mr. Miyagi doesn't train Daniel and doesn't come alongside him to fix his problem. He trains him to fix his own problem. Harry Potter. Hagrid, McGonagall, Dumbledore. They don't fix Harry's problem. They train him with the skills he already has to go and defeat whatever dark side is in that particular movie. You need to do the same with your writing. You need to come to your client or the person who is reading your content and come with the mindset that you're going to train them, you're going to guide them, and help them to solve their own problem. You're not solving anything. You're giving them information to solve their problem. Now, the reason you're doing this is you're looking for conversion if you're writing to prospects. You want someone to read that, to understand that they are still in control, they are still number one, not you, but that they need you to make their situation better. So they're going to pay you. So you want someone to read it and say, okay, that information applies to me. The only way I can actually do this and solve my situation is by bringing that guide into my life. How much does it cost? There's their pricing page. There's their phone number. I'm going to reach out to them. So there are some specific rules to follow. Here's some more technical stuff. You can write some great pieces, but your pieces need to be found. Now, one of the ways to do that is to title your blog pieces like someone would Google them. So I had this problem probably a year ago, and my blog was okay on my company website, but I realized as I was diving into Google Analytics that people were searching for the same terms over and over again, but coming through my website different ways. So I went and changed my blog titles to what those Google searches were, if it was relevant to the actual article. And that helped me move up in the Google rankings, and people actually came in to my website through what they've been searching. So if it was how a teacher's pension gets treated in a divorce, that's the blog title. That is the actual technical name of the page as well. Things like that will get you pushed up in the rankings because people are Googling exactly what you have titled your piece, so it's more relevant. While you're writing this, you have to know exactly what your desired outcome is or what call to action you're going to give your reader. So if you want someone to make an appointment with you, you need to either be putting that in the words, putting a button to your calendar multiple times in that piece. If you want them to sign up to your newsletter, make a button. Lead boxes and lead pages give you the ability to put a button in your text, which will open a pop-up box to put their details in. Write your first paragraph, put the box in. Write more content, put the button in. Join our newsletter list. Don't call it that because that's boring. Right down the end of the piece, have your button. Make sure it's very obvious in that piece what you want that person to do. Even if they can't see the buttons and they're just glazing over them, write it as well. The reason being is if someone's confused about what they're supposed to do, they will do nothing. They will read your content and they will leave. But if they read your content and they've seen a button various times on that page, and it's on the sidebar too, they'll say, oh, I should probably click that if I want to hear more. And then they'll join your newsletter list. When you're looking at SEO on your writing, Don't write your piece, title it, and hit publish, and leave it. Before you even publish it, you need to go to a keyword searcher, there's various ones on the internet, and put the keywords of your piece into that program and see how popular it's going to be. And then you're going to start to tweak your keywords to try and get it to be more unique and be found by more people. And by that, you can just start tweaking keywords, and it will start to change the formula for you. Google loves longer content. So if you're writing blog pieces that are 300 words, 400 words, you're not going to rank very high. You need to be looking at 500 plus, even better is 1,000 words plus. It needs to be very on point, well titled, good keywords, and then if you start producing more and more content like that, you'll start to push higher and higher, and your pieces will start to be more prominent on Google. The key to that is you got to be ruthless with your words. Whether you're doing emails, whether you're writing, whether you're blogging frequently, or if you're going out into the trade and writing for trade magazines. The more fluff you have, the more you'll get ignored. You have to be ruthless here. So if you're writing a blog, you have to figure out, if this is the only piece I'm being judged on, how am I going to make this stand out? It's got to be on point. You have to have a call to action. And that's it. And it can't be boring either. So for example, I have been writing for financial planning for the last 4 years. When I started to write, I would get my pieces back covered in red text because it was too much fluff, it wasn't on point, and I wasn't very specific. I then had to get into the state of mind, okay, what's this editor going through? They work with 7 to 8 other writers per month on different pieces, like 15 different pieces for the magazine. They want to read something that is ready to go. And yes, they'll give me the benefit of the doubt because I'm not an editor, but they want something that is so close to being perfect that they have to do minimal work. Bring that back to you. When you're writing your blog pieces, write it as though you're someone fresh to your website. Write it as though that person is going to read that and contact you. How powerful does that piece need to be? And work on those pieces until they're like that. That's not a skill that's easy to come by. And it's one that we offer through the Finance for Teachers Network. You know, all the members in the network have access to an editor to work with their work, whether they're doing copy for their website, whether they're doing work on their blogs, whatever it may be. So if you want to write to educators, but you want coaching on how to do it, then that is a member benefit to all tiers in the Finance for Teachers Network.